Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast where we recap the top interviews from the past week on our Eye on Northeast Kansas TV show. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. The show streams live Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock Central Time on WIBW.com. It comes to you live from the capital city of Kansas. And there is a unique new crime fighter in our area. The Shawnee County District Attorney's Office recently added a tech-sniffing dog, the first of its kind in the state, and its name is Goose, and Goose is able to sniff out evidence in child sex crimes involving computers. DA Mike Kagay and Goose's handler, Brad Barrett, visited the show along with Goose to explain just how this works. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you can't because you can't see him, but you're going to see here Goose is on a break because he's not working, so he's very relaxed, very chilled out. There he is, we promise. Goose is here with us. But Mike, why did you decide to bring Goose onto the team?
Well, because, Melissa, we have a problem in this community with exploitation. We have a problem with human trafficking. We have a problem with sex offenders. And when they engage in these types of behaviors, they tend to memorialize evidence of what they've done or what someone else has done, what we refer to as child sexual abuse materials. And they store these on electronic devices, and they're very good at hiding them. And so in an effort to support law enforcement in their investigations, make sure we can collect all available evidence and prosecute them and hold them accountable, we wanted to bring Goose on board because they can't hide them from Goose.
No, so why in your office as opposed to, say, the sheriff's office or the police department?
Great question. So Brad Barrett, who is a special investigator in my office with a focus on exploitation and human trafficking investigations, that is his full responsibility. He is the one who identified this program, which is actually made possible by a grant from a nonprofit called Operation Underground Railroad. And he brought me this idea, 3 months ago?
Yeah, about.
Yeah, and he outlined the premise, which is we can have a canine dedicated to detecting electronic storage devices, and he also doubles as a comfort dog, which is great for us because we have kids or their victims who are vulnerable and feel very uncomfortable sometimes with our process, and so he can be there in the room with them when they're meeting with the attorneys and my staff. He can be there when it's time for them to testify in court. So for me, this is just a huge win.
And it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
At what point, though, Brad, being in the prosecutor's office, what point do you get involved? Do you get involved after someone's already charged, or does law enforcement reach out to you and say, we're considering these charges, but we need a little assistance?
No, so it's actually working in partnership with law enforcement actively while they're doing the investigation. So if law enforcement has a tip or they're serving a search warrant or even pre-search warrant, we're assisting them in the investigation of it, then we can bring Goose in once they're executing it, or if it's say a voluntary or a consent search, and we can help them in any capacity at any part of the investigation.
And how does he work? Because I do have an SD card here, but you said the way he works, he's going to stay on a break right now.
Yeah.
So if I wanted him to find it, though, and I had it in a hand, and I said, what are you going to do? How would you work? What would happen?
Absolutely. So Goose is food driven. So a lot of dogs go off
we don't have food, so he's just laying
he doesn't
down
care.
Now.
So I have a food pouch that has his kibble in it, and so I'll say, hey, ready to go to work? He'll get excited. I'm saying it kind of quietly now because I don't want to get him excited. But then I'll have my food pouch, and then we'll say, hey, seek, start throwing targets. He'll start searching the area. When he indicates, which you saw in the video previous this week, he'll sit, and I'll say, show me, and then he'll point his nose right at it. And so that's how he works. That's how he goes through the process.
What's in these that you can find?
So,
and how is it different than what's in other stuff?
No, absolutely. So any kind of electronic storage device, so SD cards, internal storage on laptops, phones, even some GPS devices, if they have the capability of logging and maintaining digital data within itself, then it has a chemical sprayed on it that keeps it from overheating or corroding. So Goose is trained on that chemical, and that's what he alerts on.
If the bad guys know this, how do you make sure that they're not getting rid of whatever's in there? Or is it impossible to get rid of?
Well, yeah, if you get rid of that chemical, then it would either corrode or overheat, and it would ruin it. So yeah, it's just, it's great for our purposes because without that chemical, it won't work. So.
How big of a tool is this, Mike, and how does it help in what you're able to charge someone with? Because I imagine the more evidence, the more counts, the greater the penalty could potentially be.
Absolutely. And so what we have seen is, like I said, the offenders are good at hiding these materials. They know that if we uncover them, it's bad for the offender, right? It's going to go against their own interests. So they're very good at hiding them. And we've seen this play out time and time again. When we are doing these investigations, Most of the time, people are not going to be forthcoming about what they've been up to. We have to be able to prove it in court, and that requires the evidence. So we have to be able to find a hidden SD card, a hidden camera, a laptop that may have everything stored on it. Whereas, 20 years ago, all of these would have been on VHS tapes.
I remember that.
Right?
I still have some of those.
Right? Now everything's digitized, and that includes the offenders, and that's where Goose comes in.
Well, it's fascinating to me. We had never heard about this before, so it's been interesting to get to hear how this program works. Goose, I'm glad that you're so excited to be here live with us today. But Mike, Brad, thank you so very much for letting us meet Goose in person and seeing a bit more about what he can do. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Kind of a related concern to that is human trafficking. It's been getting a lot more attention around the area. In fact, some of the Topeka-area Rotary groups have really joined together and made human trafficking their focus. They have a new project that they just launched. It is collecting items and donations to create some winter care kits for victims of human trafficking who might be trying to get out of the situation. And meeting those basic needs actually is a big concern and obstacle to making a true break with that former life. Patty Millard and Sharon Sullivan joined us to explain the project and why it's so vital. So Patty, first of all, it's interesting that there are actually Rotary clubs now dedicated to this human trafficking fight. How did that even happen?
Well, we had some people who were very interested in supporting a cause, and the cause is fighting human trafficking. So we decided to form a Rotary club that specifically focuses on that cause.
Why is it such a big deal? And Sharon, I'll direct this to you because you've been working on this issue and this cause and topic for many years.
Many years. I think that it's really important as a community that we pay attention to these folks. Many times there are people in our communities who are the most vulnerable and have the least amount of resources. Every time that we can help somebody who's vulnerable, we reduce the risk of exploitation. And so even just these little basic things, you know, many of us don't appreciate what it means to not have those things.
And that is the project that you've come up with, a very specific one. And Patty, you brought some things with you. So what is it that Rotary is putting together and asking folks for help?
So what we're putting together is what we're calling a Rotary Cares Winter Kit. And I know that's kind of hard to think about stocking caps and gloves right now with it being 105, but it will be cold soon, and we don't want victims to be exploited because they don't have access to warm clothing, to warm stocking cap and gloves, and we know that sometimes they will say yes to a trafficker if there's no other way to stay warm.
So take everything out. Let's spread it out on the table and look at the types of things you're going to be buying. So this is kind of like a gator scarf type thing that you put around your neck. Hand warmers, gloves, hats. How are you going to put all of these things together? Socks, sweatpants, sweatshirt.
And a Mylar blanket.
So that if they're somewhere where they need a blanket outdoors.
Yes.
And then something to carry it in. So how are you going to put all of these together?
So we have several Rotary clubs in Northeast Kansas that are participating in this project, and we're all going to get together on Assembly Day for service and fellowship and assemble them.
How are you asking people to help in getting these items? Are you collecting items themselves, or do you have like a purchasing power plan to do this?
Well, both. We can accept donations, of course, if someone wants to contribute, but we're also accepting financial donations through our PayPal or our Venmo account.
And then when is the goal of wanting to have the money and the item donations?
We would like to have everything donated by the middle of October, so we can set a date then and get the kits put together to hand out when the cold weather arrives.
How are you going to distribute those items?
We're distributing them to agencies in Northeast Kansas that service victims of trafficking and sexual exploitation, and let them distribute into those in need.
These are warm weather things, and Sharon, when you think about how you would get these to the victims and the fact that they need them, how does this relate to the homelessness issue?
Well, we know that many people who are being trafficked are also unsheltered, or we know that many of the folks that come to the day center here in Topeka, that they don't have a place to live. And so they come into the day center for resources, for services, and then the advocates can get these winter kits to them through the day center.
And then expound on the vulnerability that this opens up, because they don't have items like this. You kind of hinted at it earlier, and so someone comes up to them and says, I can offer you warmth.
That's right. So you might have remember an article last year about the street tax. And so anytime someone who is unsheltered needs a place to stay, needs a meal, even if they're staying in an alley, someone might be in control of that alley and require them to, to use their body, which would be considered exchange of something of value. Just to have a place to sleep. And it's the same for these items. If you're not warm, then you do what you have to do. You remember last winter how cold it was and how bitter it was. And so people did have to use their bodies. That was the only currency that they had.
Well, basic needs can make the difference, and if you can help Rotary meet those needs, the Venmo is at CAAHT Rotary or PayPal at Rotary CAAHT. You can also email Patty if you'd like more information on where you can bring the actual items. That's Patty with an I at keystaffing.com, and I will get all of that information on WIBW.com as well. A very important project, ladies, so thank you for allowing us to help you spread the word.
Thanks so much, Melissa.
Meeting the mental health needs of the community is the work of Valeo Behavioral Health. They have great projects that are underway all year long. Their major signature fundraising event, Unmasking Stigma, is set to make a return. It's been on a 3-year hiatus because of the COVID pandemic, but we're proud to join in supporting it coming up this November. Amy Kopp-Hasty from Valeo told us a bit about what the event will be like and also unveiled for us who their keynote speaker is going to be. Amy, we are so excited to have Unmasking Stigma return. How long has it been since we've had this gathering?
Since COVID.
So it was like, I was going to say 1999.
Not that long.
2019
yes,
is the year I was thinking. It was Daryl Strawberry who came to speak that year, and then a few months later, all of this happened. So what do you have planned for the return of Unmasking Stigma?
Well, first of all, thank you. You have been our MC since the beginning. So really, it just sort of starts with you and your participation, and we thank you. So you'll be one of the highlights.
I'm going to MC, yes.
Yes. And we have a keynote speaker coming in. His name is Sergeant Kevin Briggs, and his nickname is the Guardian of the Golden Gate Bridge. And the reason for that is that he's a law enforcement officer whose responsibility and job is or was to intervene, encourage, and keep people from jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. For some reason, that bridge is a bridge where people do go to end their lives, and if they jump off the bridge, there is a 99% chance they will not survive. And so years ago, they actually put law enforcement officers stationed on the bridge to try to stop that from happening. And he's one of those folks.
That one-on-one intervention. And as we have this discussion, I do want to make sure people are aware the 988 hotline is there right now if you are struggling and feel that you need some assistance. But crisis intervention is one thing that Valeo does. How does this event help that work?
Well, you know, everything we do on Unmasking Stigma for the fundraiser will be raising funds for the programs and services that we offer. So Valeo has a 24-hour crisis center that never closes. And so anyone in a mental health emergency can walk in, no appointment needed, and get the help that they need when they're in crisis. And, you know, since COVID, that's a huge undertaking to staff it, to keep it open, and, you know, to save lives every day, which is what we do at Valeo.
How much have you seen the need increase?
You know, it's interesting. We were asked that question a lot during COVID, and our numbers didn't necessarily increase, which was scary for us because we were waiting for the shoe to drop, if you will. But then what we found when people started returning for services, people were much sicker. You know, they had stopped their medication. They had stopped, you know, going for their appointments, support groups and things of that nature. So people had taken several steps back in their recovery. And so we're now trying to catch everyone up.
So Unmasking Stigma is
Yes.
part of that and bringing that back. In addition to hearing from Kevin, what else will people do that evening?
Well, Delta Hayes is going to perform.
Oh, fun.
They are a wonderful band, local band, and they volunteered. They're doing it for free for us, for our fundraiser, which is very nice of them. Curtis Sneeden, he's an illusionist, and he is wonderful. He performed, if you remember, at our last fundraiser, and he'll be back. He's got some new tricks up his sleeve, so we can't wait to see what that is. And then we'll have a live and silent auction and wonderful food at Townsite Towers. It's a beautiful event space.
And I know that you're looking for any corporate sponsors who want to
Yes.
sign on right now. How about individual tickets? Are they on sale?
They're on sale today.
Oh,
yes.
fantastic. So yay, be the first in the door.
Yes.
For those who would like information about Unmasking Stigma, the date is Saturday, November 4th. 5:30 is the time that it all gets underway at Townsite Ballroom downtown. Again, Kevin Briggs, your keynote speaker. Those individual tickets are $125. You can get them through a link at valeotopeka.org. Amy's information is on that website as well if you're interested in sponsoring the event. It's a very important event, and it's an evening of fun for a very serious cause. Yeah. A few months away, but mark your calendar now. Unmasking Stigma is just a great cause. We often have Carl Carlson, the founder and CEO of Carlson Financial, pay us a visit to address some various financial topics. I found this week's segment interesting because we hear a lot about Roth IRAs and how they can be a great addition for adults because you pay the taxes now, but then when you take it out, it's growing tax-free. You don't have to pay the money on it when you take it out. Well, did you know that you can start these Roth IRAs for children? I sure didn't, so Carl filled me in. For kids?
Yeah.
And this isn't the educational 529 savings.
Nope, totally different. It's a Roth IRA that you can help them get that money in there, and then it can grow tax-free for the rest of their life, which is just super awesome, getting it in there and then getting some great investments. So over time, they're going to have a lot of more money, and it's going to be tax-free in there.
So how does it work?
Here's the key. The child has to have earned income in order for you to set up a Roth IRA for them. Now, earned income means they had some sort of a job.
You can't pay the baby to sleep? Is that a job?
That's not a job.
So they're probably a
You're
little bit
trying-
older by the time that you start the Roth
yeah,
IRA.
the baby, you can't get a Roth IRA for a baby.
But?
Yes, but maybe if you've got a child that's 8 or 9, you can help them, hey, let's start a little lawn mowing business and let's mow the neighbors' yards for the summer. And you can mow our yard and maybe a babysitting thing. And so now they're starting to get some income, and you can say, okay, for everything you earn, you can spend half of it, and if you save half of it, I'll match it for you.
How formal does that have to be set up, or does the IRS just take your word for it and say, yeah, because most kids will go babysit, but they're not going to incorporate anything and file taxes for their babysitting income. Do you have to be doing anything like that?
No, not really,
Okay.
because the maximum they can put in a Roth IRA in 1 year is $6,000.
Okay.
So the IRS is not going to be too worried about smaller income like that.
So obviously getting a head start on having some savings is one benefit. What other things is this teaching kids?
Yeah, so, and you can help them kind of do their books and like they're starting a little business. So I think that's a great start for them. And you can say, okay, you can put $6,000 into a Roth IRA. If you make $6,000, I will let you spend half of that, and then I will match the other $3,000, and we'll put the whole $6,000 in there for you. So now you're giving them other little incentives and teaching them things. So, and then you're helping put that money into their Roth IRA. But they had the $6,000 in earnings, so that you could put $6,000 in, but they got to spend $3,000 of it. You match their other $3,000, so things like that.
What's the other end? How little can you have to start this? For kids who are maybe going out and earning maybe $50, $100 a
even
month.
small amounts. So you can do $50. So if they earn $50, you can put that $50 into a Roth IRA, get one open, get it started, and off you go.
Other than the $6,000 top limit, are there any other things to consider with these for the children?
No, not really. That there's maximum amounts of income that you can earn and still do a Roth IRA, 100 and some thousand. So you probably don't have to
Most
worry
12-year-olds
about
aren't earning $100,000 unless you're that one kid on YouTube testing
That's right.
toys.
Yeah, exactly. The influencer.
Right. But all great things, and it teaches, like you said, that financial literacy, that financial education, and you can make it when can they start drawing this out, or is that not until retirement as well?
Yeah, so that's another thing. It's going to keep them from spending it because there's a 10% penalty if they take the money out before age 59 and a half.
Okay.
So it gives them some long-term thinking too, because you're sharing that with them, and then you're also teaching them, once that money gets in there, how do we invest it? And so they can, let's go buy some Apple stock. You like your iPhone and all that. So they can then see that Apple stock growing over time, and really teaches them a little more about investing too.
It's a really great lesson for kids, and a little bit more long-term, like you said, that long-term focus to start them thinking than just the regular savings accounts that we might consider for kids. Interesting option. Carl, appreciate you letting us know about it. And now you know how it works. We always like to wrap up with something a little bit fun, and there is a beautiful artwork that folks reached out and told us about. They said, you have to see what the Rossville High School art teacher is doing in the little town of Delia. So it's a very small town. They had an elementary school that the district decided to close, as sometimes happens with rural districts, and they decide they need to kind of downsize. So the Delia school building itself had closed a few years back. Well, they've repurposed it into a community center, and Jackson County, where the town of Delia is located, they've been kind of going around saying, we want to make some artwork, some public art that can really be promoted for people to visit all around our county. So they heard about Garrett Larson is his name, a young man who is an art teacher in Rossville, the Caw Valley School District, where Delia is encompassed. And they said, would you be willing to do something? And so Garrett did. And this is what they say, what did you do over your summer vacation? Well, this is what he's been able to tell his kids. He actually started planning before last school year ended. So some of the students were kind of in on the front end of this, watching their teacher practice what he preaches, so to speak, and be able to create and contribute to some community art. Well, that artwork is done. He spent all summer working on it, and now we're getting to see what it's all about. A dedication is planned here in the next couple of weeks, but Garrett joined us to explain kind of his concept and his ideas in creating this art, and how his students helped influence what he came up with. Let's get the story behind the work first, Garrett. You're an art teacher at Rossville.
Yep, I teach 7th through 12th grade at Rossville Junior Senior High School.
So how did they approach you with this idea of what they wanted to do in Delia?
So the Tourism Council of Jackson County, they went and talked to Delia, and they had a community meeting, and they were asking what they might want in a mural or what they were looking at doing. And some people there had known me my whole life and threw my name out there and said, hey, Garrett could do this for us. So then Suzette came and talked to me, and they were throwing around ideas, and they ended up liking a sculpture that I made for a bicycle park. And so then we ended up doing a sculpture and a painting up at Delia.
Yeah, you have the two things, and we do have some video because people might have seen this on 13 News over the weekend. The mural is fabulous, and it has a brightly colored Native American theme. How did you decide on this, and why was this something important to you to express?
Well, the way we came to it was we wanted to celebrate young people that were continuing on their traditions and continuing on things from their heritage. And I taught one of the two students that are in the picture, Shawa Hale and Noe Potts, I taught at Rossville. And they would share their artwork with me when we were making artwork together, but then they would also share their experiences with singing, or then Noe would show me images of him dancing or going to powwows. So that's a way that we connected. And the kids there are sharing their time with me, and then I'm sharing my time with them. So when we were going to do something celebrating young people, I had a connection with those young people. And then I dug up pictures, and we worked, a whole bunch of people in the community worked on the theme and getting pictures and that kind of deal. And all the paint kind of doesn't have a border on it, and it's spreading out, which then the idea is that they're spreading their culture. They're keeping it going.
I love the symbolism there. And then we caught a glimpse of the buffalo. How big is that?
It's 15 feet by 15 feet.
And is it just all pieces?
Yeah, it's 1.5 inch tubing that's all been bent and rolled, or then cut and bent. There's 240 some pieces. A friend of mine, Dylan Schaffner, and I built it in the month of June this year. And we went to high school together too, and we've been friends forever. So it's cool that all the connections from all the different people that helped it come to fruition. And it was neat showing the kids plans, and then having them, you're saying, hey, I'm going to build a buffalo at the end of the school year, and you show them what you're going to do, and they think, man, I don't know if he's going to actually do that. And then you do it, and then it's like, well, hey, look, go check it out.
There's a little bit of a lesson here for the students. What is that lesson?
Yeah, that you can do anything if you just work at it and you plan it and you just keep going. I hope that the artwork up there inspires people. I hope it inspires young people to if you enjoy dancing and singing, hang it out there and do it. If you like painting, then go out and do it. And I hope that people can see, well, hey, they're doing it, so we can do it too, kind of a thing. They are doing a dedication on the September 9th.
I was going to mention, everybody's invited, right? So it's part of the larger Delia Days celebration.
Yep,
What's all going to be part of the dedication portion, which is on that Sunday?
There's going to be Native American singers and dancers. There's probably going to be a group of about 30 people that are performing, singing, and dancing. We're going to have some people speak. There's tribal council people coming. There's, county commissioner, I think, is coming. People from the town government, mayor, that kind of thing are going to speak. There's a lot of interest of people going, and it's kind of cool how it's snowballed into a thing.
Artists all want to live on. Is this kind of going to be a nice legacy piece for you, for your area?
Yeah, for sure. I grew up, and my dad has artwork around the area, and I always saw that growing up, and I thought it was super cool and aspired to it. And I think it would be awesome if my two daughters could drive up there and see something that I did. Yeah.
The Delia Days is actually taking place September 9th and 10th, all day. On Saturday, different things are happening. On Sunday, there's a car show going on, but then that big mural dedication at 12:30 at the Delia Community Center. Go and see that artwork in person. Garrett, thank you so much for being here to share the story with us.
Yeah, thank you.
It really is beautiful and colorful. So, of course, if you want to see the images we were able to capture of it, you can get the video of this segment and all of our guests that are on the show on WIBW.com. I also post them on my Facebook page, which is WIBW Melissa Bruner. You can also check out our WIBW News our WIBW News YouTube channel. That's the one I'm looking for. Be sure to click subscribe while you're there, and you can kind of go back through all of our Eye on Northeast Kansas segments all in one spot on that YouTube channel. Remember, you can catch us Monday through Friday streaming live 4 o'clock Central Time on WIBW.com. Until then, we'll see you on the Red Couch.